Hey y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Hey HR, and I am going to talk all about my third love. So I love the Lord first, I love my family, and then I love human resources. So we're going to talk all about what human resources is. So many times people will ask me like, hey, what do you do for your full-time job, or what's your career? And I'll say, oh, I work in human resources. And they always go to, oh, you hire and fire people all day. Well, that ain't all I do. And if they really don't like human resources, then they say, oh, you just fire people all day. Man, listen, it's way more to it than that. So we're going to talk about what human resources is. If you want to know more about it, then definitely keep watching. So human resources is an important department for any business in any industry of any size, because it definitely keeps the company connected to the employees. It really manages the entire employee life cycle for any employee that comes in that organization. So the employee life cycle would start at attraction. That's even before you start the recruitment phase, or that's a part of the recruitment phase, and then it goes all the way to when someone leaves, their separation, termination, retirement. So everything in the middle. So that would be your benefits, your onboarding, your employee engagement, your employee education, your training, your development, all of those different things in the middle. Of course, the employee relations, labor relations, it can go through a whole list of things until you get to the end of the employee life cycle. So human resources really manages the concerns and needs that relate to the human capital of the organization and the people who work for the business. So anything relating to employees and how this can affect their work, keep them safe, keep them engaged, keep them retained. Human resources is really your driving factor or your driving force behind all of those different things. And so often human resources manages the processes of recruiting, hiring, firing, onboarding, creating and managing detailed employee records. Primarily, the employee records are really for legal purposes. Most times you're keeping a lot of documents on file because legally you're supposed to keep that for the organization, for the employee, for the industry, for the company size, to meet some regulation or some federal or state law. So human resources is your go-to to provide that support, guidance, and assistance to your human capital. So some of the key duties and responsibilities in human resources is, I already said, recruitment, managing employee relations, compensation and benefits, legal compliance with labor laws and regulations, oversee training. And training isn't in every organization. So some organizations have a designated training department. For those that don't have that designated training department for all employees across the entire organization, then typically that's handled with human resources. Support employee development, assist employees in various ways. So that could be with any of the things that I already listed, or anything that really pertains to them staying employed and remaining employed. Fostering a safe work environment, administering payroll, and payroll sometimes falls into your finance department. So HR doesn't always handle payroll, but it definitely manages the different changes that payroll would need. So your open enrollment, your new hires, your terminations, things like that. HR is a person that makes sure that payroll knows, hey, these are some changes we need on payroll. Normally payroll, if this is within the finance department, they just keeping it running, like keeping it accurate according to timesheets or time records. But HR is the person that knows that other thing. So if HR doesn't tell them, hey, we have this employee that has this qualifying event, or we have this going on with an employee who's going to be on leave, we have this going on with the employee who's on workers' comp leave, we have someone who is starting or whatever, then normally you have an HRS, like a system in place that tells payroll these changes too. I personally like when they both still communicate that information in some way, but if your system runs well, then and you trust it, then use it. You know what I'm saying? HR also manages disciplinary needs and separation, resignation, retirement. Like, I hate to say firing. The resource that I looked up said firing. That's not always firing. Sometimes an employee wants to separate. Sometimes they want to retire. Sometimes it's a change within the organization. It's just many reasons why an employee would leave an organization. Not always because they're being fired. Employees contact HR for primarily the same reasons. And those reasons, and this is like a overview, because employees can really contact HR for so many things inclusive of this, or these things have levels to them. But primarily an employee would contact HR if an employee or a coworker experience harassment or discrimination. For benefits management, again, that's going to be your open enrollments. That's going to be, hey, I have a qualifying event. That's going to be all those things like that. Change in personal circumstances, career growth and development, particularly if they need like a third party to help them work through an issue. And it has to be a work-related issue. So if they need a third party to help them work through some conflict with their employee, with their coworkers, with their leadership, with their work schedule, things like that, they typically go to HR for that too. You guys heard me mention a phrase that I just ran right over, right? Employee life cycle. And if you're not familiar with human resources, then employee life cycle is huge. That totally depicts the type of work that you're going to do, the type of opportunities that are available for you, particularly if you have a specific HR position and you're not like an HR generalist, or HR business partner, director, or manager. Then knowing that employee life cycle, it really knows when you fit in to do your daily job. So if you want to learn more about the employee life cycle and you feel like I just completely went over your head with it, then I have full details about it in the Hey HR training manual for HR professionals. So I'll put the link down below, but that's definitely a good resource to not only tell you about the employee life cycle, but also about the different types of positions that are available in HR. Also to tell you about each part of HR. It even gives you some great templates as well as some checklists, some good external resources, videos in there, quizzes in there. So it's definitely jam-packed with information, but it's a really good tool to learn more about the employee life cycle. So for those of you who are new, I hope that you found this video valuable, and I hope that you decide to subscribe. Listen, I'm putting in tons of work to only engage you, so I hope that you found it worth a subscribe. For those of you who are returning, I am so happy to have you here yet again, and I just cannot wait to see you on the next video.